My name is Annabella Sanchez. This is Emmett Sanchez, my brother. I will be reading my book talk to him and he will have questions. Okay? Journey Home by Ushuku Ukata. I chose the book Journey Home because I felt like it's about family who went through a hard couple of years and they are trying to figure out their lives. This story could be about a girl and her family trying to figure out their way back home after a strange detour. The girl might seem young, so she may or may not know what's happening around her. She might lose some friends but gain new ones because she's traveling back to where she belongs. The road they will take will be long and difficult, but they will persevere and they will change their fate. Yuki and her parents are just released from a prison camp in Nevada. They are forced to stay there for a few months while the war is raging on. Her brother decided to fight instead of staying in a cell. When they are released, they are traveled to the nearest city where they rent a house for a few months while they get back on their feet. Yuki's best friend Emmy is still in prison with her grandma, but they talk as often as possible until they get out. Yuki also wishes for her brother Ken to come home. Yuki is a child. She doesn't understand that life isn't fair, and she doesn't like Mr. Oka's cat. Mama and Papa are worried. They want a home for their family, but they don't have much money. Emmy and the others are released from camp, so the whole family moves back to California in a little refugee sanctuary. They stay there for a few weeks, then they save their money to move into Mr. Oka's grocery shop. They are now running the store as their full-time job, and Ken is in the hospital because of an injury due to war. I thought the story would end with them running the grocery store. Ken would come home fully healed and all the families would be happy. There are many conflicts leading to the end, such as war, the race, a fire, and even death. It all worked out. Ken is back and his post-war depression is cleared. The grocery store is fixed and running again, and everyone feels safe and at home. Do you have any questions?
Is Mr. Oka like a person that they live with, or is he the person at like a prison?
They meet him in the church sanctuary.
Okay. Where does Ken like serve in the army?
I think he was stationed in France.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that all of it?
A Journey Home by Ushuku Ukata is a story of a young girl and her family getting their life back together after the war. Yuki is a young girl. She's trying to make the best out of a bad situation and make sure no one feels unwelcome. Yuki and her family have been moved into a concentration camp because they are Japanese. After the war, they are allowed to leave, so they go to a small town in Nevada to live there for a few months. They leave and head to a refugee church in California as Yuki's best friend Emmy and her grandma leave the prison to meet them. Along the way, they meet Mr. Uka, and altogether, they rebuy his grocery store to work at and live in. Because of them being Japanese, there's a lot of hate crimes. One of them is their store being set on fire. Yuki's brother Ken has been fighting in the war, and he's finally coming home, but he wasn't the same. After fixing what he needed to do, he decided to go back to college, and the story ends with Yuki putting a ring on her finger that symbolizes to her that she's finally home and safe. The theme of Journey Home is the love your family gives, no matter the circumstance or the conflicts. Yuki is a Japanese girl. She has black hair, she is young, and she has a brother who fights in the war. Her best friend is Emmy. Emmy, Yuki's best friend, is young and small, and she has a grandma and long black hair as well. Any questions?
No.
Okay. The plot of A Journey Home is the exposition. Pearl Harbor was bombed, and then America countered with the atomic bombs. The rising action is Yuki's family is given 10 days to relocate to the prison camp in Nevada. The climax is Yuki's family is released, and after a few moves, they get settled with some friends at a church in California. The following action is Yuki's friends and family buy the grocery store and run it. The resolution is Yuki finally feels like she could have a home there. Any questions?
What city? Does it tell you what city that they were in California?
I know it was up north.
It's up north, so like Sacramento?
It was Berkeley.
Berkeley? Okay. No.
If you like history and the culture of the past, then this book is for you. I recommend this book if you like to read about the culture and lifestyles of the people in the post-war era. I personally am not a fan of historical reading, but I did enjoy reading about the Japanese culture after the Second World War. I never knew that the war affected the Japanese on this side of the world. This book was an easy read, and the author's writing style was clear and simple as well as the vocab. Even when some words were in Japanese, she always explained what they were talking about. Thank you. Any questions?
What was this book written by? Who was this book written by?
It was written by... It was written by Ushuku Okada.
Was Ushuko Okada, like, did she or her relatives, like grandma, say anything, like tell her about the story, and it was just a fiction story, but like non-fiction?
Historical fiction.
Historical
I
fiction?
think it was based on someone in her family, but I'm not sure if the entire story is real or fake.
Okay. No other questions.
Thank you. That concludes the book talk.